Welcome back to the second episode of the Sports Hour with Miller and Watson. What is up? How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you on this dreary Thursday?
I know it's a little it's kind of gross out, but sometimes when it's like this, it feels like football weather. It's that mid-season kind of the weather's imitating kind of how we're all feeling. We're a little bit exhausted. The games don't mean as much right now. And the chill is kind of starting to get through the air. We're past Halloween, onto the holidays. And I know for at least us, we're starting to ramp up ideas for the Thanksgiving and the Christmas. And we have some Saturday games on Peacock this year for NBC, which is pretty cool.
Uh,
So we're,
company
yeah,
people.
yeah, I know. So kind of starting to get all that stuff. So it's been, yeah, I don't know how about you. I always feel like weeks like 8 through 12 kind of drag. They feel really long, at least
Yeah,
in football. I think, college basketball is starting, college football is kind of starting to wrap up. It's just there's a lot happening. And so those kind of weeks in the NFL sometimes I feel like get pushed aside a little bit.
I call this time of year blowout season because in college football, especially around Thanksgiving, they always put the games that are supposed to be rivalries, but they always end up being blowouts.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's super true. That's super
so
true.
like, yeah, so I'm just excited, man. We're back together again.
I know.
It's a great time. It's a great
Took a
time.
week off. No, not really a week off. We're working the whole time.
Right,
That's why we can't do it
right,
every week.
right.
But yeah, it's good to be back. So I know I just talked a lot about the football feeling, but one of the reasons I think why this time of the year feels so monotonous is because, like I just said, there are so many sports that have started. So we have the NHL that has started, and the NBA is now in full swing. So we're going to start out with some Celtics Sixers reactions, and I'm just going to let you take it away because I'm sure you have opinions and thoughts on this. So give it to me. Give it to me.
Oh man, well let's start here, man. Sixers battered the Celtics 106 to 103. Now, if you were like me, you might have had flashbacks to what happened on Sunday, which we'll get to. With the way the Sixers went up, they were blowing it out. They were on cruise control. It was like 102 to 87 midway through the fourth quarter. It was a wrap. Everybody was like, okay, cool. We don't have to worry about it. And then the Celtics, being that dynamic offense that they are, started coming back. They went on like a 20 to like 4 run. Oh man, it was quiet. It was weird. But then Joel Embiid put his superhero cape on, hit a turnaround, fade away, spin jumper. I feel like that's the only way to describe it. And, the Sixers won. They put on a defensive clinic, shut the Celtics down. They only shot 31.6% from the field, you know? I
Yeah.
know for most of y'all, you 31.6%, like, you're all like, what does that compare to? I mean, the Celtics hit, like, they have Kristaps Porzingis now, of Knicks fame. Shout out to you Knicks fans. I know that hurts every time you hear that name, Kristaps Porzingis. Drew Holiday, like they have some shooters on that team, and the Sixers did an incredible job of shutting them down because they usually hit like 40 to 50% of their shots, and they were down to 31.6%. So, I mean, the Sixers passed the early test, which is like, they both were 6-1 up until last week. Shout out to my pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They did the job over last or a couple of days ago by beating the Celtics, because up until now it would have been the undefeated Celtics
Yeah.
versus the one loss Sixers, and now we don't have to worry about. And now they didn't have to worry about that. The pressure was all probably for Boston too, because we did. None of us had to have this conversation of, oh my goodness, when was the Celtics' next loss coming? Would have been
Yeah.
reminding you of what happens every time a team starts undefeated in football. The Dolphins, the 82 Dolphins or whatever, start celebrating every time
Yeah.
somebody loses. So we
That
didn't have to
picture
have.
always comes up. Yeah. With them,
Yeah,
drinking champagne, smoking
yeah.
cigars.
Yeah, so we
So
didn't have to have that conversation in basketball. But yeah, it was a really good game. The Sixers and Celtics are gonna play each other next week. So we'll be doing this all over again sometime next week. But this is a great rivalry. It's probably the best rivalry in sports. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Sixers fan, but I mean, look at the history of it, man. Bird, Magic, Dr. J, Wilt Chamberlain, people who you and I could only watch on ESPN Classic. We weren't alive. Our parents were, but we weren't.
Yeah.
So like, stuff that we could only watch on what's that HBO show? Winning Time. Like, even though it got canceled. I know some of y'all probably listening to this didn't even know that. So breaking news: Winning Time got
I've never
canceled.
heard of that show. So,
It's
I'm with you guys that have never heard of it.
it's an
But
HBO.
okay.
Yeah.
So looking forward, these two teams, do we think that the winner of these two teams is the best team in the Eastern Conference?
Right now, yes. And that's
Yeah?
the Sixers. That's the
You
Sixers.
think?
There.
Okay. So the Sixers, right?
Yeah. The Sixers are 6-1 right now.
Yeah.
And they are trending in the right direction, which I know is a surprise to a lot of people because people
They've
thought
won 6 in a row.
Yep, 6 in a row. That James Harden thing would severely affect the Sixers' depth. But as I was telling you over the summer, and I've told anybody in episode 1, I've had my doubts about the Celtics because they are front runners.
Yeah.
Boston, you know this. Your teams are front runners. They're not built like that. They are not built to come back. The Celtics might be the closest team y'all got.
Yeah, they aren't. They they're winners. So what is this? When we're looking at this as a loss for the Celtics, right? Like they were able to come back and they looked like they were out of it at the beginning and then able to kind of do that power punch in the middle and come back. And do you think that they should be focusing more on that or focusing more on how can you start the game stronger? Because like you just said, they're not built to come back. Yeah, they made a good effort to come back, but that's not their forte per se.
So I think for the Celtics, I mean, especially when you're facing there aren't too many teams, especially after the James Harden trade, that are able to throw 6'8" guys that have the length of a 7'5" guy at you, right? So for the Celtics, they just need to figure out the chemistry thing, because right now, like I said, you have 3 scorers right now in the Killer Jays, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then you have Kristaps Porzingis, and they all are basically playing, at least in these first couple of games, my turn, your turn, his turn, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very hard when you have that many people and you have really no defense to speak of outside of Drew Holiday. Again, Celtics fans, y'all know y'all had the junkyard dog that was Marcus Smart, who would get up in the people's faces, tell you what to do. Y'all don't have that guy anymore. Outside of Drew Holiday, you have a bunch of okay defenders, and it's hot garbage outside of that, right? So that is what the Sixers took full advantage of. The fact that outside of Drew Holiday, there are no good defenders on Boston's team right now.
Yeah.
So Boston needs to focus on having more dynamic offense and trying to figure out a way to get better on defense. This is no knock on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're just not, they're not shut down defenders. That's not.
No, they're not. I think, and again, like you said, they're used to playing from a leading standpoint. So it's different when you're not just being relied upon to score baskets. You're being relied upon to stop baskets too.
Yep. Yeah. So they'll figure it out. But hey, Kristaps Porzingis is looking really good for the people who love that in Celtics land and are running out to get his jersey as we speak.
So after kind of obviously just talked about the Celtics, what do you think the Sixers need to work on? Do you think they need to work on anything?
Yeah. So the Sixers need to work on. Now, this is the first real game outside of the Bucks game where they play somebody who will most likely end up in the playoffs. This is no disrespect to the opponents. It's just that, the way the schedule works out. So the Sixers need to work on, making sure that you play a complete, 40-plus minute effort on 48-plus minute effort on defense,
Yeah.
Some of this stuff, as was pointed out, I mean, we don't have rights to it, but if I could point out to the film and get on my Chris Sims right now, I would tell you about the times where they were double teaming Jason Tatum, and it led to a cut by Drew Holiday, right? Which cut the lead down and everything else. But it's just communication stuff. Obviously, kind of like with the Eagles, and which we'll get to in a second. When you have a new coach implementing new things, like Nick Nurse said yesterday, that they're only about at 20, I think it was 38% defensively of what he wants to implement. So right now they're only working off of almost 40% of his defensive game plan from Toronto. So this is going to get better. Against the Celtics, it was a little bit more pronounced, obviously, because it's the Celtics,
Yeah.
right? And so the Sixers will have time to work on that. They need to get better defensively. Anthony Melton has been struggling early on. He needs to start hitting shots, which I think he'll do momentarily. But it's set up pretty beautifully for him to have a get right game, because the next couple of opponents are the Pistons and the Pacers to start the in-season tournament. We haven't talked about that yet, but
I know. How do you feel about that? I feel like it's too early, but that's just my opinion. I feel like if you're going to do it in season one, why not do it? I feel like we're like 10, obviously the Sixers are 6 games in. That feels way too early to have an in-game. Yeah, I mean, when they announced it early, like I don't know, over the summer or whatever, I was like, oh, it'll be like a halfway point. People will be able to kind of test their skills, blah blah blah. But this feels really early. What do you think about it?
Yeah, we were talking about this, not me and you, but with our colleagues at NBC. That it is kind of early. Obviously, like the Sixers are 6-1, Celtics are 5-2, Bucks are 5-2. Everybody's like 7-8 games in, right?
7 games.
It's a little early. They're 7 or 8 games into an 82-game season. It is a little early, but I guess when you think about it, right, the midway point would be about Christmas, and obviously the NBA did not want to. That's their
fair.
time, right? That's when a lot of people are watching basketball games, right? The midway point of the season is right around Christmas and the New Year's Day for the NBA. So, and we both know that they bank on them Christmas games, right?
Yes.
Those Christmas games are big. It's like Sixers, Heat, Lakers,
That's
Celtics.
right. I didn't even think about that.
If they put all the good games on Christmas Day, right? Because that's what we all grew up on. Basketball on Christmas Day, right? Like, the NFL is just starting to get hip to it now. But basketball on Christmas Day.
I know NFL on Christmas still feels weird. It's right. Still like Thanksgiving, obviously, totally. But Thanksgiving, my mom keeps asking me. For those of you that don't work in sports, you probably won't know this, but most of our holidays we don't spend at home, or if we do, we spend at home working. And my mom was like, "Are you gonna be home for Christmas?" And I was like, "I think so, but I'm not sure." She was like, "What do you mean you're not sure?" I was like, "Well, we have a game the day before." And she's so funny. She's always like, "Oh, like I just can't believe you have to work on Thanksgiving or Christmas." I'm like, "Mom, what do people do on Thanksgiving and Christmas?" She's like, "Watch sports." I'm like, "Yeah, somebody has to work it." So, but it's fun. NBC always has a really nice Thanksgiving spread. Any games around the holidays, and they make good food there. So it's not bad. There are worse places to be,
Right.
But okay. So, but going off of like what you're saying, I need you to take your Sixers hat off. Okay. And I'm going to ask you, are you surprised by how well they are playing? I know that you wanted them to play well, right? Obviously. And in last episode, you did talk about how you thought they were going to be one of the really good teams. But are you surprised at how well they're playing, how well they're gelling?
I would say it like this. I did not think that, I thought it would be more growing pains than there are. But clearly, kind of like what happened with the Ben Simmons thing. They just came together and said, we're going to buy into this. He's won a championship. He can adjust. I mean, what a miracle, Morgan, to have a coach. And I know because you have a football team, and both of our football teams have struggles with coaches who don't adjust. Not Nick Sirianni, but we've had these struggles before, as far as with the Eagles and the Sixers and a lot of other teams here. My baseball team, the Phillies, just struggle with the lack of adjustment. That's why they didn't make the World Series. Yep. So there are ways, but what a miracle to actually have a coach that adjusts. I mean, there's been so many times where I've been like, yo, they need to cut off the paint. And clearly Dick Nurse and I are of one mind because he has implemented that. And so I am totally surprised that they have started out so well. Like if you would have had me put a ballpark on it, by this game, like after today, I would have said maybe the Sixers are 3-3, 4-2, but 6-1. Oh, please! I'm politely surprised, but yeah, I'm like they've been good. But I think to me the most surprising team up until a couple of weeks ago, to bring your question forward, is the Dallas Mavericks, because up until last week there were only 2 undefeated teams. And it was the Celtics and the Mavs. Clearly, Luka Doncic must have saw what I said over the summer because he had a clear proof. I'm gonna prove this man wrong. But Luka, I'm telling you, dog, like you're in the West. It's Nikola Jokic's conference and Steph Curry's conference. You ain't making it, dog. It looks good right now.
Yeah.
But your team ain't the team, bro. Like I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to save you here, man. Anybody that loves Luka Doncic should be telling them the same thing I'm telling them.
Yeah.
Leave. It's
Leave.
Kyrie Irving and a bunch of young stars. You already know from last year that if it looks like y'all ain't gonna make it, they gonna shut you down. They gonna shut Kyrie down and just tank for some picks. We're gonna talk about some
They've
NFL
done it before.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some NFL teams in a minute that need to do that exact same thing, right? Like it is clear that I know that, right? You and Kyrie, that's the new dynamic. You think it's gonna work, but I'm gonna tell you, I like Kyrie, but Kyrie is not reliable. Ask the Cavaliers fans, ask the Nets fans.
Yeah.
Love him, but he's not reliable, dog. Like when you need him in a pinch, he won't be there for you.
Yeah.
like great guy, great player. I pay a ticket to see him, but I mean, it's clear it's shown up in every other destination he's been to. He's committed now, but will he be committed in the playoffs?
Yeah.
In this time when they're focusing on both of y'all, like it looks good now. You guys look great. I don't want Mavericks fans to be upset at me. They'll probably hit me up later. But you all are Dallas fans. You know how this goes. Y'all haven't won.
It's not anything. A surprise.
Yeah, y'all haven't won anything since Dirk Nowitzki left. Like it's going. This is how it's gonna go. It's gonna look good midway through the season. Kyrie, Luka, somebody will get a little knick-knack injury. They'll be out for a couple weeks, and then they'll start doing this.
Yep.
And then it's time to tank for whoever the top pick will be. It won't be Wemby. It'll be when we start thinking about that. But I think to spin this little forward and then we'll get to Harden. I'm upset, as a sports journalist and as a Sixers fan, that the Sixers and Celtics, again, one of the best rivalries in all the sports, in all of basketball, was demoted to a local game. This is a rematch of the best playoff matchup that we had last playoffs. And I would say that as a Sixers fan or a Celtics fan, I think we can all agree on that, right? But it was demoted because Victor Wembanyama, and even though we love them, our NBC and all these people thought that, oh my God, Wemby going to New York to face Julius Randle or Jalen Brunson is more sexy than Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid facing off for the next 2 weeks. And I'm just like, bro.
No, I mean, it's the same. You look at all the sports. Hockey's doing it too. With every single game that Connor Bedard plays is a primetime game. Primetime for hockey, national game. The Blackhawks stink. They are a stinky team. And it's not their fault. They're built they're young. They're really young and they'll get good. But every single time that kid plays, it is not, they don't have them ever on local games. It's just every single time. It's the national media is just, it's like a circus following him around. Same thing they're doing for Wemby. It's just at some point you want to be okay, we get it. They're really good. They were the really big picks. But if I really cared, I would seek that game out and watch it. Let me watch the games that are going to be good on my TV.
And this is no knock on the Spurs or Knicks fans, but let's be real. Y'all all knew both y'all teams didn't belong on national TV yesterday. That was reserved for the Sixers and the Celtics. It was not reserved for two teams that we know ain't going nowhere. Sorry, Spurs. Sorry, Knicks fans. Y'all both know y'all ain't going nowhere. Tim Duncan ain't walking through that door. Manu Ginobili ain't walking through that door.
Kind of like the primetime game we have tonight for football.
Y'all don't. I mean, that's on Prime, so you got to work to find that.
I guess that's fair.
That's on Prime. That's on Prime. That's Prime's problem.
Or there's other primetime games this week that aren't super great too. For being honest.
Oh, we're getting there. It's my. The Eagles are on bye, so this is 2K weekend. This is 2K weekend for me. But
I know you guys. We'll get to them, but you guys really lucked out with this bye. You needed it more than anybody on this week.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the Harden trade. Do you think that the way that the Sixers look right now is, because of that, not because of that. What are we thinking?
Well, first off, let me just tell you about that day that I found
That
out
day. Okay,
that
tell me about that day.
Harden got traded.
Yeah, yes, tell me. I want to
So,
hear.
so I'm getting ready to go on the train because, I think it's well known, if not to our audience, you and I know. I live in Philadelphia, but obviously New York, NBC Sports' office is in Connecticut. So we are still under a hybrid work environment, so I have to, make my way up there. And so I'm sitting in the beautiful 30th Street train station, in Philadelphia. Beautiful train station, one of the best train stations in the country.
Okay.
Um, so I'm looking at my phone. First off, my chat is on fire. I'm like, huh. Somebody messages me and says Harden got traded, and I'm like, huh? Not at 2:30 in the morning. So I look at Twitter, and I see Woj. Now, as we both know, Twitter/X is a I don't think anybody wants to lie, but as two journalists and two people that work in media, you used to be able to figure out if something was real or not in about 5-10 seconds on
It is
X
so much
Twitter.
harder now.
Yeah, it is a misinformation factory, right? And
It's so
so
bad.
like I saw that Woj had retweeted it, but I had to make absolutely sure. So I was looking at Woj's thing, and I was like, "Is this Woj?
Like,
A
is this
fake
the real
Woj?
one? Is this
Is
the
this the
real
real
one?
one? Right? Is this the real one?" Then I had to check Shams to make sure it was real, and apparently it was real, man. And I was shocked. I was about to take that train to Stanford, and I was shook.
Well,
I
did you
was
hear the whole story about
that he was in Newark and he took
yeah,
the
and
train
Woj, they told
to
him
get
not to
that.
get on the plane. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
true journalist for you.
yeah. But so I was shocked. Well, once the initial shock wore off and I saw what it was. Now, if I can be honest with y'all, even before a Sixers fan, as a sports journalist and a media member, I was sitting there like, man, this don't seem like it seems good, but I need to see it on the court, right? And now I've
Yeah.
been seeing it on the court. I'm excited, man. This is the most depth, and I would say this even if I wasn't a Sixers fan. The hat's off, as you told me. The hat is off. I'm objective Kyler is talking to y'all right now. Like, the length of the Sixers. I talked about this in my article, WatsonSportsTakes.com, Battered Celtics. Check it out. It's
Nice
also
plug.
linked in the description box. I think it's pretty good. I talk about how the length of the Sixers and the fact that they have like so much depth. Of guys like I mentioned earlier who are like 6'7", 6'8", but have like the expansive wingspans, really threw off Shaylin and Jason, and really threw off the Celtics rhythm. And like it's really good. This is the best and most wing depth the Sixers have had since I've been watching the Sixers, and that's been a while. It is really good, and I don't honestly think at this point, right, at 12:02 p.m. on November 9th, as we're recording this, I don't think they need to make a move just yet. I think that right now
Okay.
with the assets that they have, with the picks, with the depth, that they can wait until about I think it's early February before they have to make a move for a Zach LaVine or OG Anunoby or whoever else, right? So I think they can wait, and I just think that at this point they just need to pay Tyrese Maxey. Give him, and when Joel Embiid, as he starts getting up, he's 29 right now. As he starts inching up into his 30s and mid 30s, I don't think he's going to take that much of a downturn. But as his career starts winding down, then you give the keys to the 23-year-old, just recently turned 23 too, on Monday, Tyrese Maxey. You give him the money, you give him his 150 to $200 million, and then you just start building around both of them, and it'll totally work out. Just to show you how explosive that duo is, right? The Sixers, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, as a pick and roll duo, and this is from ESPN last night. For those of you that want to fact check me, 75.0 points either scored or assisted on. It leads the league. Now, just to put that in perspective, right? Last year, Joel Embiid and James Harden's pick and roll stuff was top 3. It wasn't number 1. That was Antetokounmpo, Giannis. That was Dame Lillard. Like they were top 2, but Harden and Embiid were number 3. 75 points a game, either scored or assisted on. Like that's half the Sixers' points. They scored 106 last night. So most of those points either come from a P&R. Sorry for those of you that don't know, pick and roll, but P&R. For the like that either comes from that or like, and that just shows you like the development of Maxey and like just how Joel Embiid is just bought in to helping Tyrese Maxey be the next guy. And so yeah, I just think this Harden trade will work out. As far as for the Clippers, they got older. It's kind of like the Suns last year. Like it's just, it's a very top heavy roster, right? Like the Suns last year were top heavy, bringing it a little closer to both of us. The Brooklyn Nets were top heavy, bringing it closer. Like we've seen these types of teams before. Your Wizards, very top heavy when they had Marcin.
Wizards. That's a hot take.
When they had Marcin Gortat and John Wall and Bradley Beal, top heavy, right? No real benches. We've seen this before. No real bench depth. Like it's the way it is, man. It is the way it is for these teams, and like a lot of it, like we said last episode, and I've said when we did this earlier this year, it depends on the health of Kawhi and PG-13. And if you're a Clippers fan, like you could lose all 3 of those players. Like you could literally just be looking at next year Russell Westbrook being the star player on your team. And for a lot of LA fans, that's a nightmare that they don't want to relive, but that could be your reality. So I feel like the Clippers will get better once they get healthy, once they learn how to play with Harden. But it's still to be determined. But as far as the Sixers, it's looking really good right now.
All right. We're going to take a step off of the court. We're going to head to the field. Okay. Now, I'm going to let you go. But I'm going to talk first. I'm going to say my thoughts. Now, I was excited for this game. I thought it was going to be a really good game. It was a really good game. A few things that stood out to me, first of all. I think Dak needs more credit than he's given. Dak held that team on his back. I am not a big Cowboys fan. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan. There's no way I could be a fan of either one of these teams. But Dak really put the team on his back. He played unbelievable. And I don't normally compliment him because he's not my favorite quarterback, but I think he played really, 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 really well. I think the Eagles did a lot of things good, but I also still don't think they're playing at their best, which is scary, I think, for other people in the NFC because they are not playing their best right now. Hurt is obviously hurt. His knee is not doing great. I have to say, I was genuinely shocked that he didn't come out of the game after that hit. He's one tough cookie, put it that way. So I think that there's some really, really bright spots. I think there's more bright spots in this win than there is for the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys lost, so it's not a bright spot, but they did hold their own with them, and they did make it a game. But I don't know how, if the Eagles get completely healthy and they start to play the football that we know they can play, that would scare me because I think they won this game despite maybe not even being the best team out on the field that day. Go.
Man. Well, look, you kind of hit on it, right? The Eagles had one of the most okay games ever. And like you and I have pointed out, you just pointed it out, the Eagles, outside of that Jets game, have been winning games so far this year off of the sheer fact that they have the best talent in the NFL. And I know that Patrick Mahomes exists, but listen to what I just said. The most team talent in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? That is, you have Jalen Hurts. You have A.J. Brown. The best are making an argument as the best receiver right now. Sorry to you Tyreek Hill fans, but I mean, come on now. Y'all saw them catches. You know, you've got the best offensive line in the league. And on top of that, shout out to Jason Kelce, one of the top 5 most sexiest men on on the planet, apparently, according to People Magazine. I mean, he lost out to Patrick Dempsey. I'm not a Grey's Anatomy fan. I'm gonna leave that to you, Morgan, because I know that he makes
beautiful.
it
was the right choice. Okay, it was the right choice.
I believe that. I believe that to the people that have been swooning over that man. Who have been swooning over that man, whether they were born during his time or not. So
or not, yeah, exactly.
I believe that right.
He's ageless. He's fine.
I believe that right alone. But Jason Kelce, like now they have apparently the most sexiest man in sports on their offensive line. Like it is great. And Jalen Hurts, even though he's clearly hurt, he was making throws that only like him and Patrick Mahomes can make. I mean, that one throw to Devontae Smith, again, if I could get on my Chris Sims and we had some footage, we would be able to show it. But we're not trying to get censored by the NFL, so we're not gonna do that. But
could you imagine we get canceled by the NFL?
So but just imagine you have Jalen. Most of you probably saw that game, right? Unless you lived in Connecticut, like you didn't see that game, you saw the Giants Raiders game. But you see him just throw the ball, and you're like, oh man, who's gonna catch that? And then you just see Devontae Smith with the fadeaway catch going to the ground, catches the ball, helps the Eagles retake the lead, and for all intents and purposes, the game was over right there because that was the 28 points right there, right? And it's a good thing that that was his best game so far this season, right? 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown. Jalen Hurts is back, and after this week, should be all good.
Well, I think that's the big thing you said after this week, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but sometimes bye weeks can come at an inopportune moment where you're on a hot streak and you're like, no, we want to keep going. I don't think a bye week could come at a better time for anybody than the Eagles right now. They are banged up. Some of these games, like you've said, they haven't won as easy as you think they should have. That makes sense. Like they've been work. And so I think that they need this week off to, 1, get their bodies back in motion. And 2, let's do a reset. Let's come out. Who do you guys have coming out right after the bye? I didn't even look.
No, I don't. Look, man. I just know that they have KC, Buffalo, and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, so you need your body to be right, and I don't know necessarily if that's.
I mean, they don't have KC until like 2 weeks. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the following, I believe. It's around Thanksgiving. So it's the Bills, it's the Chiefs. They'll get usually coming out of a bye week. I don't want to say a game is easy because it is the NFL, but usually you get like a semi okay game to come out of the bye week. This is what those teams get. So I'm as far as the Eagles, man, like offensively, let's just talk about this, right? Since we're on this topic. Yeah. The Eagles offensively, right? Offensive stats have been, as you guys see right there, they average 376.8 yards per game. That's good enough for third in the NFL. 28 touchdowns so far this season, 3rd in the NFL. Passing yards, 247.1 yards per game. Good enough for 7th in the league. They have the best, you talked about this, Morgan. They convert 50% of their 3rd downs, meaning most teams have no chance against them if they ever get them.
Yeah, because they do the tush push. It's not fair.
It's not even the tush push. Half the time is that it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, even if it's 3rd and 10, they don't have a chance. And it's 129.7 rushing yards per game. And that's going to get better because Cam Jurgens is coming back. So that's going to get increasingly better. Now, there are some Eagles fans that want to fire new coordinator Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, ever since the Jets game, it seems like the Eagles have steadily gotten better on the offensive side and steadily have done this on the defensive side, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of that, as you said, is health, right? The Kobe Dean now has a Liz Frank injury. Now, Dallas Goedert will be out for a while because of a forearm injury. Really dirty, really dirty play by that Cowboys person. If you look at it, if you look at the replay, right, if you see it, he's pulling his arm and then he lands on it. So, it's a forearm injury. It's a good thing. And I would say this even if I wasn't an Eagles fan. If you actually look at the replay of it, he's pulling his arm. He lands on his arm.
It was a very physical game. That whole game was what you expect for almost any NFC East.
Yeah, it's a rivalry
game. But those two especially,
Yeah. And I mean, like the Cowboys fans, we got to talk about it, right? The fact that, Dak Prescott, even though he had a really good game, isn't Mr. Fantastic and couldn't stretch out to get that 2-point conversion. And Schoonmaker, it's funny, man. When stuff doesn't go the way of the Cowboys, it's like everybody wants to get on their horses and ride on up, whether they're Cowboys fans or not. One of our colleagues,
I'm sorry, but didn't you hear that they're America's team?
Right. It's a guy.
Everyone loves them.
A guy that you work more closely with than I do. Chris Sims is getting killed right now as we speak on Twitter because of what he said earlier about the thing that has been the thing since forever, right? Is a catch a catch? That was not a catch. He clearly didn't get over the line. We all saw it. We saw multiple angles of that man not getting across the line, and I would have said that whether he was playing for the Eagles, whether he was playing for the Giants, it was not a touchdown. We've all played at least one thing of Madden. We know what a touchdown is. You get over the line, and it's a touchdown. The Eagles fans have had our hearts broken by this when Deshaun Jackson crossed the line but dropped the ball, and luckily enough, there was a fellow Eagles receiver right there to recover it. Otherwise, that would have been a touchdown for. I think that happened against your Giants, right? That would have been a touchdown for the Giants. So, that is what we all know what a catch is. Chris Sims knows what a catch is. I don't know why he was getting on this high horse for the Cowboys. They don't need any more help than they get. They got a lot of help, for that drive. That I just want to say this, that DPI on James Bradbury was not really a DPI. Like, he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't holding him down. He wasn't even looking for the ball. The ball was uncatchable anyway. Isn't there a rule against, you're more into the NFL rule book than I am, Mike Florio.
So there's a rule for those that the ball has to be catchable, but they seem to never care. That's been like a new big controversy this year with a lot of those calls, is that even if the ball is like, they're like, I'm sorry, can he jump 12 feet in the air to get it? No, then it's not a catchable ball. That seems to be less important now than whatever the contact on the offensive defensive player is, which is not necessarily the greatest way to handle it, in my opinion. But there's been, I think the reffing of this season has probably been the most controversial that it's been
right.
all year. I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, I think that I don't know. I don't remember any other year there being this much complaints. I remember like every once in a while, especially if your team loses, you complain. But like there are people complaining like objectively. Like, I don't have a dog in this fight, but that was a bad call. And I don't ever really remember seeing that in the past. So I'm curious to see what the NFL is going to do later on. If they're going to do something next season or something like that, which they might. But I don't have an answer for that.
Right. Now they had more legitimacy with the other two calls. But that one against Bradbury where he clearly didn't see the ball, wasn't doing anything. Bull was doing a 360. CeeDee Lamb was doing a 360 into him to try to come back and make it look like that. I know because of the star on their helmet. I mean, wink, wink. Even as objective reporters, we know that there are calls, especially on national television, that favor the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys, right? It is a objective fact that one of those three that put them in that situation were that first one against Bradbury. should not have happened.
Yeah.
That throw wasn't catchable. It literally hit him in his back. He didn't know where the ball was. He was more focused on, pushing CD Lamb out of balance so he couldn't catch the ball. Like, he was not focused on that catch. And had he looked, he could have intercepted that and ended that game. But he wasn't looking. And, again, I'm saying this even if I wasn't an Eagles fan, right? Like, if you objectively look at when they call DPIs, they're getting the receivers getting tackled. He was getting held. But literally, if you look at that replay, like I said, he's 360ing into him. He's pushing him towards the football, like, to make it look good. Like, it definitely should be a flopping. Now, I know we just got through talking about the NBA, but they definitely over-embellished these calls, man. Like, that one was a prime example of over-embellishment. Like, that was one of those prayer, let's get a DPI thing. But, Eagles won the game. The offense is looking good. Defensively, there's definitely some improvement. Just to spin this forward, nickel corner, Avonte Maddox, love him, big fan, but too injury prone. Got to get somebody else in here. Middle linebacker, I know Eagles fans are laughing right now. Howie Roseman, he doesn't really value the linebacker position. That's very true. But you need somebody who won't get injured. And I like the Kobe Dean, but maybe we need to go back to Georgia and get a middle linebacker.
And get another one? Yeah.
Yeah. So did the Cowboys show either one of us anything to make you or me think they can compete in the NFC?
Dak. That's what I'm saying. I don't know much. Like I said, he put the entire team on his back on that game, in my opinion. I don't know. It's really weird. They seem to play good teams really well and then bad teams not well. Almost like they're playing like the Chiefs play, where they kind of play down to some of their opponents. Does that make sense? But besides that, no, not really. I mean, who am I to talk, though? My team is terrible. I think that this season, it's the Eagles' NFC to lose. And I hate saying that, but I do. And I hate that because you have that little smirk on your face, and it annoys me. But I really think they're the only team that has proven me that they can play solidly a full game every game. Yeah, they lost to the Commanders, which, was it the Commanders they lost to, or
Jets? The
Jets, that's right. Well, God, it's even worse. They almost lost to the Commanders. But
first time in history. That was history.
That's right. That's right. There. But I think that they learned from that mistake, if that makes sense. Like, it looks like they made changes. And I mean, Sirianni is an unbelievable coach. And I think that the players have bought into him. The players believe in him. The players believe in Jalen Hurts. And I think that's the two biggest things, where there's not a lot of other teams in the NFL right now where it seems, or not in the NFL, in the NFC, that it seems like every player in the locker room has bought into both the coach and the quarterback.
Well, look, man, to illustrate the point that we're both making, the Eagles 32-8 since that infamous Flower speech. As you and I both know, the Flower speech that Mike Florio and Chris Sims spent a lot of time trying to make sense of, and a lot of people spent a lot of time making sense of it. But the Eagles got it 32-8 since that thing. Jalen Hurts is like, I believe is like 14-2, might be 16-2 now in the NFC. Hasn't lost a game to any.
Well, NFC. Yeah, you heard? Did they? Oh no, this is the same thing as that was the same thing that they said to Lamar Jackson. Did you hear that where he was like, "Don't talk to me about it. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it."
Yeah.
16, so maybe we don't tell him that, because apparently it'll jinx him. Or
16-2 against any, like, he's won 16, I think it's 18 straight games against NFC opponents. Obviously, like we just pointed out, the one loss came to an AFC team, which doesn't count because this is about his record against NFC teams. This is historic, right? And as far as the Cowboys, and this will lead into the next one that we're talking about, the Cowboys, they cowboy, man. As Stephen A. Smith says, they are an accident waiting to happen. You know how many Cowboys fans were so emotional? I know you've probably seen the video on Twitter. Like, you had the one Cowboys fan And that's his wife or girlfriend. I don't know if you've seen this. He was crying in the parking lot. I guess they were in Philadelphia, maybe in Texas somewhere. He was crying. His wife or his girlfriend was like, the mosquitoes are biting, and he's crying over the Cowboys. He's like, the Eagles, the Eagles. Like like the Cowboys. This is what their fans do. They're so emotional, and I say that as an Eagles fan. You say that as a Giants fan. Like, we get emotional, but don't nobody get no heart attacks or almost kill themselves over quote unquote America's team, right?
Yeah,
like
it's true. Okay, so but saying it, what do you think their future is? I mean, do you think that this is just a bad year? Not a bad year, they play good, or like are they going somewhere this year? Are they vying for that 7th seed, or is it just gonna? I know this is time to blow up, but do you think they're going to implode? Is my question. Like, do you think they're going to self-implode, or do you think that this is the start of the downhill trajectory for the rest of the season?
I think they've been downhill for a while, but I think this is it's time. It's just time to blow it up, man. Like, how many times are we going to keep doing this with the Cowboys, right? They get a big game. What is the Eagles, the 49ers,
Well, they've been saying this since they beat the Giants. That's the problem. They beat the Giants 40-0. And I think at the beginning of the season, nobody knew how terrible the Giants were, honestly. I think that there was so much hype over them that 40-0 felt like, holy crapola. They just beat this team that's supposed to be good this year, And I think that was kind of where it all got started. And then they haven't played like that again, but it's like, were they good, or was that the Giants, or kind of a combination of both? So
let me spin this for, because we are to the point. We're both not Cowboys fans. I know the Cowboys fans are going to be upset at us, and they'll probably let us know on Twitter or somewhere else.
Yeah, as always,
especially the ones we work with, they'll let us know. But this is how it's going to end, right? I'm not going to be disrespectful. They'll make the 5, more than likely a 4 or 5 seed. They'll at least get past the first round of wild card season. The Eagles or the Niners, probably the Eagles, will have the bye week. And we're not talking about this, but I think we talked about this before. I think it is the dumbest thing that the 2nd seed doesn't get a bye week and has to play. I think it's the dumbest thing.
Yeah, the whole thing is really weird in my opinion with that kind of stuff, but who am I?
But we're not discussing that. But I think this is how it's going to end, right? It'll be a 2nd round matchup, probably against whoever the 2 seed is. It'll probably end up being the 49ers. They'll have the 49ers and Cowboys once again. We'll all be drooling over it. It'll be a closer game because it's a playoff game, and they will not blow like they did earlier this season. The Niners will probably not blow the Cowboys out. Hurting my heart because they probably won't blow them out, because they don't blow them out in playoff games. But it'll be 30-20, maybe 30-26. And it'll be the same thing that happened, because it keeps happening, right? Like it happened last year. It happened against the Eagles. They don't manage the clock well. Mike McCarthy, I say this as somebody that used to watch Andy Reid mismanage the clock as an Eagles fan. Like, Mike McCarthy has like a doctorate's degree in mismanaging the clock, because how do you waste timeouts? Now some of this is Dak Prescott. You just got through praising him, Morgan, and now I'm about to bury him.
I know.
You get sacked. Why is there no rush? It worked out for my Eagles, but why was there no rush? Dog, you got sacked. Hurry up.
We were screaming.
Spike the ball.
We were screaming in the control room.
Like, is Mike McCarthy does Mike McCarthy have Andy Reid syndrome? Like, and again, this is no disrespect, because as I said, Eagles fan here, love Andy Reid, but we all know he used to mismanage the heck out of the clock when he was here in Philadelphia. Like, waste timeouts, do it all. But he has a doctorate, because in all objectivity, right? The Eagles should have lost that game, right? Had it not been for that Josh Sweat sack, had it not been for Brandon Graham sacking him too, had it not been for that, and then, again, the doctorate degree that him and Dak have in mismanaging the clock, the Eagles should have lost that game, right? But they didn't. And it's because the Cowboys don't know how to manage a clock. Like, the 49ers and the Eagles have both benefited from the fact that Mike McCarthy is an inept coach. Yeah. And I say that as somebody who does not have a Super Bowl ring, but I played enough Madden and I've watched enough football to know how to not mismanage a clock. Like, how do you not? Because, like, what is it? Like, when the clock hits 15, they lose communication, right?
I think it's, oh God, we just talked about, Chris was just telling us, I think it's 10. I think it's a lot like longer than you think. It could be 15, but it's around there. Between 15 and 10, they lose contact. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, how are you not saying
enough time, regardless?
How are you not saying, hey, if you get sacked because you're playing the best defensive line in football,
you're playing the Georgia
get
Bulldogs.
Up there, spike the ball, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows what they should be doing. And then how do you not at least throw, like, you're at the 15, 20-yard line. I didn't even get to the delay of game, right? How are you on the 15-yard line and you throw a ball that short? Now, again, the Eagles were playing prevent defense. Big ups to Sean Desai for that. Play prevent defense, tackled them immediately. Like, it looked great. It was great. But, like, the Cowboys should have won that game. And again, like Stephen A. Smith says, an accident waiting to happen. Cowboys fans, it's just time to blow it up, man. Like, I'm going to show you how it's going to go, right? You're going to lose very heartbreakingly to the Niners and the Eagles that next week after the playoffs. You're going to cry. You're going to boo-hoo. Stephen A. Smith's going to be behind me on First Take, having all the pictures again of all the sad Cowboys fans on First Take, laughing it up. We're all going to be laughing. Morgan and I will be laughing too. We'll all be laughing at you. But at the end of the day, like,
pointing fingers and said, "We told you so."
Right. We'll be here that following Thursday saying the same thing. Ha ha ha! Look at these Cowboys fans. But at the end of the day, it's time for Mike McCarthy to go. It hurts me. It hurts Morgan because I am a fan of keeping all the inadequate coaches in the NFC East because it makes it easier for the Eagles. But unfortunately, that can't happen. And Jerry Jones won't fire himself. So like, Mike McCarthy will get the boot. Dak Prescott, I know y'all paid him all that money, but you're going to see a theme here because we're going to talk more. We're going to talk about the Giants in a minute, but you're about to see a theme here. It is time to free Dak. Maybe you keep CeeDee Lamb. But this is a wide receiver heavy draft that you could trade him. You got Brandon Cooks, free him. It's just time. It's just time to blow it up. Cowboys fans, how many times are you gonna have a coach say, "Well, we learned a lot, even though we lost. We learned a lot." Like, you could, every coach since Jimmy Johnson has said that. Bill Parcells, we learned a lot. The guy that
I know, as a sideline reporter, that is a question I generally will ask. I'll be like, "So, what's something you can take away from today's game?" Well, we learned a lot about our guys and I'm like, okay, because they're never going to give you a straight answer. It's the classic coaching.
I mean, Jason Garrett gives more honest answers working for our company than he ever did when he was.
Well, he's allowed to now. He's like, they're like, have an opinion. You have to have one. Whereas in the other side of it, they're like, I actually was talking to a coach from a very well-known university the other day, and they were saying, I was asking some questions about like, media training that they give their athletes and stuff like that. And he told me that sometimes there are just people that like, they just like won't let talk because they're like, no, that person just won't be able to say something. They'll say something too much. They'll say, So it was an interesting conversation for sure. But okay, so this has got to be quick because I think the answer is yes. Are they the best team in the NFL?
Oh, you already know. Yes.
I know you're going to say yes.
Yes. Them and the Chiefs.
I think that's the same thing as me. The only difference I'm going to say is that I'm intrigued to see how the 49ers look after the bye. Maybe some players have gotten rest. It doesn't look like a ton of their players have come off of being injured, but I think it's those three teams for me right now. And the scary part about, I think, the Chiefs and the Eagles is that I don't think they're playing their best football yet. All right, so let's talk about a team who is incapable of playing good football.
Yeah, let me intro this so you can get your thoughts together. Yeah, so this is where we're going to talk about the Giants and the Raiders. I'm going to let Morgan speak for all you Giants fans. Like it says there, let it out, Morgan. This is a safe space. I will not use it against you. And many other fans, like you probably seen, a lot of us, you know your team isn't doing well. I don't need to tell you that. So you go right ahead and speak on your Giants. I'm gonna let
Yeah,
you go.
we're terrible. I mean, I feel so bad for Daniel Jones. I think that they paid him all this money and they put him in such a horrible situation with no offensive line, no protection. The guy got sacked 150 million times before he finally got hurt, his neck injury. And then he comes back. So first of all, for the first however many games he's playing, then Saquon gets hurt. Cool. We're playing fine, not great. Saquon gets hurt. So Daniel Jones has like 2 games on the field with Saquon. So then Daniel Jones gets hurt. Saquon comes back. Tyrod goes in. Tyrod looks good. And they're like, play Tyrod. Daniel Jones sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, okay. The only way that Daniel Jones as a quarterback works is having him and Saquon on the field together because they both can run. We talked about this months ago when we were talking about Saquon leaving originally, that's their what I will quote Chris Sims, who says the 4-legged beast or the 3-legged beast, whatever it is. It's Daniel Jones running, Saquon running, and then Graham Gano kicking normally, not this game. But not having them together isn't helpful for either of them. So they complement each other nicely because you have to cover the run on both of them, plus the pass for Daniel. So it makes a big difference. So they finally are back on the field together. We're playing a team who's just fired their head coach. I'm like, this is it. We got this game. Didn't look terrible for the first 5 minutes, and then Daniel Jones tears his ACL. So we got to bring back in homeboy DeVito, who is, I mean,
shout out Syracuse for that one.
I have so much to say on that, but I'm going to push that aside for a second. And again, Saquon still tried his best. They tried. This game was not for lack of effort. And that's the thing that I'm still impressed with is that their effort is still there. They still are giving it. It doesn't look like they've completely given up as a team. They still look upset when they lose. The locker rooms are still horrible. They said this was the most somber that the locker room has ever looked after a game, mainly because Daniel Jones had just torn his ACL. But let's get back to DeVito. I understand that you had a backup quarterback. You had Tyrod, and he's a good backup, a very good backup. Like I have no issue when he has to go in, especially with the system that we're running. He can run too. He has legs too, so it's not as bad. Why the actual hell do you have a quarterback on your roster that cannot throw the ball? I don't mean that in any way against Tommy DeVito. I keep having to pause. I keep wanting to say Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito. I mean nothing against it. I'm sure he's a nice kid. I'm sure he was great at Syracuse. Awesome. But there are how many D1 universities out there with quarterbacks that didn't get drafted? Why is there not one that they can get to throw the ball? They don't even trust him to throw the ball.
Carson Wentz was available.
God, that's what I mean. So there's a ton of people that are available. I don't understand why he was on the team. You brought him in and you saw something in him that meant that he can't throw the ball. None of the plays that he could throw the ball. He threw little screen passes. He threw a little bit more the second game, but like no shots downfield were taken. Nothing. And it's like, it is so disheartening. It is so frustrating to watch a team that you like a lot be so bad. And I don't even know who to blame. I'm like, is it Joe Sheen? Is it Daniel Jones? Is he bad? I don't want to blame Daboll because I genuinely like Daboll as a coach. I think he makes good decisions. Is it Mara? Like, who is it? Where does it go? Does it go all the way up to the top? I just don't know because it just seems like, and I mean, there's a big portion of it that definitely is like that freaking turf in MetLife has to get changed. I know that didn't factor into this game, but like the turf has to change. Like we can't look at how many quarterbacks are out with ACL or MCL or high ankle sprains, all of those non-contact injuries. Like what is happening? I just went on a rant. I feel better.
Like I said, this is a safe space. Your friendly neighborhood friend has you.
It just sucks. It's just like, and again, I said this last time. What sucks the most is that I think every Giants fan was excited for this season.
Yeah.
So what is the future? I think Daniel Jones is played his last snap as a starting quarterback for the New York
Now
Giants.
look,
I do.
now look. You just let it all out, so I'm not gonna come at your team too hard. But Daniel Jones, my man, the dude from Duke, the guy who, again, I have a friend. His name is also Daniel. And I remember because I was still at Syracuse when this happened. We were watching the game. We were watching the draft. We were going to see. I think it was the last Avengers movie, so Endgame, right? And before that, it was a late showing, so we were all watching the draft together, right? And I could just see the dejection on his face. Y'all had the number 1, number 2 pick. He thought y'all were gonna get the better quarterback, who I guess would have been Trevor Lawrence. Was that Trevor Lawrence's year?
Yeah, we didn't have the first pick. Jackson had the first pick.
Right,
Jacksonville.
right. Y'all were second, right?
We had no, that was when we got Saquon. Saquon, we had We got him second. Second pick. Daniel, we got him 6th. I think that was our earliest pick that year.
Okay, so yeah,
which still isn't good. We shouldn't have picked him at 6.
He was excited. He thought y'all were going to get a receiver or another running back or something. He was really excited. I was mad that y'all got Saquon. I won't even lie. I was so heartbroken that y'all got Saquon because I wanted him on the Eagles. But I just watched the dejection on his face because you New Yorkers, well, you're not a New Yorker, but you native New Yorkers are so passionate, and it's just the sadness that comes on y'all face when it doesn't go your way. Daniel, when Daniel Jones out of Duke got selected, my man was so sad. The only thing that cheered him up was watching that Avengers movie. I had to pat him on the back and be like, "It's gonna be all right, Danny. It's gonna be all right. I'm sure Daniel Jones is gonna be good." And now
you were wrong, man. You were wrong.
I was very wrong. But now I can send a shot at one of our least favorite universities. I have no problem with you guys personally, but Duke University, right? How many high-profile athletes that are in the NFL right now on Duke? Duke is a basketball school. Let's just be real, right? I believe, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Hit us up at Kyler W. Watson on Twitter, at M. India Miller on Twitter if we're wrong. But I think, and I believe, outside of I think maybe a tight end and an offensive lineman, I believe Danny Dimes is the highest profile Duke former football player in the NFL right now, right?
I couldn't name another one. So
yeah, me either. So I believe so. So again, the Duke football fans, if we're wrong, let us know. I will gladly come on here the next time we have it and admit I was wrong. But Daniel Jones, he's like, I hate to kick somebody while they're down after they injure the ACL, especially because when I was younger, I broke my femur. So I fully understand what Daniel Jones is going through, right? I fully understand. I didn't break my MCL and ACL, but I broke the other hard bone it is to break in your leg, the femur. So I fully understand what Daniel Jones is going through. But Danny, man, you are like the scuffed sneaker or the scuffed Timberland, because it's New York, that has been on New York's feet. They've tried, they've cleaned you up, they put you in a prominent place. If you're not a sneakerhead, you probably don't get this metaphor, but I'm gonna help you out. You put you on a prominent place, they paid retail, maybe they paid more for you. They put you in a prominent place. You were okay to them, You gave them a lot of highlights, but now it's just time to throw the sneaker out, throw the Timberland out. And Danny, they're going to throw you out, man. So I know a couple of Giants fans, not just Morgan. I have a couple of mentors that are Giants fans that have told me personally that if they had a chance to get a new quarterback, they would drive up there. Some of them live in Delaware. Some of them live in Philly. They would drive up to New York or wherever you live, probably in Westchester. They would drive up there, pack your bags, drop you off at whichever one of those inconvenient airports, LaGuardia or JFK, pick one, and they would fly you out back to Durham, back to wherever, somewhere else, out of their team, because that's just how much they don't appreciate. And it is hard to play in the NFL and be a quarterback, especially in New York. But Danny, it's time, bro. It is time, and this just feeds into our next quarterback. Next question. Yes, it is time for them to tank. I think we're both in agreement for this, for a better QB. Again, Danny, it might just even be the quarterback at Duke who is showing us something right now. It could be a backup. I think
I don't want another quarterback from Duke. I don't want another quarterback from Duke.
Well, it could be.
I want the quarterback from USC. That's who I want.
The Caleb Williams. It could be Shador Sanders if he
I'd
comes
be down
out.
with that. That would be fun. That would be fun.
It could be the man that I'm gonna bring up later, who's gonna replace Sam Howell, Luke May. It could be any. It could be Michael Penix Jr. Like, history is gonna be made because more than likely, just because of the way it's looking, right? Unless y'all get Luke May, the Giants will probably have to draft a black quarterback. And that'll be the first time in history they'll actually do that. So, like, it is looking real bad for you, Danny. Like, I preview
it's not good. No,
segment, like, you ain't him, dog. You are not him. Like, you are not Hemule Jones. Like, you were good for them, but now you're injured. And now, like, I don't even know why the Giants, they've seen Carson Wentz. Like, he's definitely better than Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, but I think at this point, one, they want to lose, and two, they don't want to lose the locker room. I feel like that's Carson Wentz's thing, is he just poisons the locker room. And I don't think they want that. Here's the thing with Saquon. So Saquon did not want to be traded. He knew what was going on in that locker room. He knew what they were doing. But you could say before the trade deadline, we knew we weren't going anywhere. We knew that. So if Saquon still believes, still wants to be with Daboll, still wants to be there, I'm down. Maybe they've already said they're getting a new quarterback. Maybe they've already said, I'm up for keeping Saquon. I think that we should have franchise tagged DJ and, given that huge contract to Saquon, in my opinion.
You said that. You said that over the summer.
I think that Saquon deserves the money. Saquon has proven that he's one of the best running backs in the National Football League. Daniel Jones had one good year. Like, I liked Daniel Jones a lot, but why not see if that 1 year was an anomaly, right? Why not franchise tag him and be like, was last year something new, or were all the other years before that the real Daniel? We know now that last year was an anomaly. And of course, it helps to have Saquon on the field for a lot of the year. But I don't know. I think the Giants have nothing right now if they don't have Saquon. I think their receivers aren't terrible. They're young. And I think that they just need I don't know. They need a new quarterback. That's the real thing. They need a new quarterback, and they need to fix the offensive line, which I feel like I have said for 1,000 years talking about the Giants. Now we're going to move on from one quarterback that we talked about over the summer to another running back we talked about this summer to another running back we talked about this summer. We talked about Josh Jacobs. And we honestly, I think both of us thought that both Saquon and Josh Jacobs were going to leave their teams. They ended up actually both re-signing, which is cool. But I don't see the Raiders doing anything. I think that was an anomaly of a game as well. I think that they were, it's that you just lost your coach, Antonio Pierce, like breaking down walls, and former Giant too. And I think that they really just wanted to prove how much they freaking hated McDaniels, which I think they have made their point. But I don't think they're going to get a playoff spot. I don't think so.
Yeah,
do you?
I don't think they can ride the new coach who this energy to a playoff spot. I don't think so. No. The AFC is too loaded, and obviously it's front heavy, but like the AFC is too loaded, and plus like the Raiders, again, it's another team that needs to blow it up. The Raiders need to trade we're just gonna go with these players that are too valuable and need to be traded. Like Saquon needs to be traded. I know y'all just got Darren Waller via trade. Trade him too. Like it's just time.
Yeah, he just can't stay healthy. It's
the Raiders. Yeah, the Raiders with Devontae Adams. Free that man. I know it was his childhood dream to play for the Raiders, but it's not going well. Y'all got Jimmy G, and now it's Aiden O'Connell. Like, I get it. I watched Aiden last year when he was playing, I believe, for Purdue or Iowa, one of them. And like, he's a good quarterback, but he's not the guy. Again, we're gonna get to a new segment called "He Ain't Him and She Ain't Her." That's not the guy, bro. That's not it. You Raiders fans, that. You know that that's not your guy.
All right.
He got the
Oh,
one
sorry.
victory. That's it. Like it's it. You'll probably go on a little win streak because they'll want to kick up for Antonio Pierce. But that's about it. He'll probably be your new coach, and then you'll have something to look forward to next year. But again,
Yeah.
you're in a conference with Josh Herbert, or I'm sorry, Justin Herbert, not Josh Herbert. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, like like, come on now. Like y'all maybe a wild card spot next year, but not this year.
All right. So is there a game that you're like super excited for this week?
Yes, the Ravens, and the Browns. I want to see which one of them is going to reign supreme in the AFC North. Right? You've got Lamar and the offense looking good, very good. Like, you've got Gus Edwards, you got Keaton Mitchell, you got a bunch of others. Shout out Matthew Berry for that one. Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards, the run game's looking good. Odell's looking a little broke down, but offensively it's looking good for them.
Yeah.
And I want to see that how does that look against Myles Garrett? He probably won't be able to sack Lamar Jackson too many times because of his mobility. But I want to see what happens when they're off schedule, when Myles Garrett is in the backfield, when he blows something up. I just think whoever wins that game will probably win the AFC North, and that's despite the fact that, the Bengals are doing what they usually do, start slow and surge. So, but it's whoever wins that game will reign supreme in the AFC North and will probably have the 2 seed because obviously you got to catch the Chiefs, and that's not looking good.
No. Yeah, the only game that I'm not the only game. I think that game looks really good, but the game I'm really looking forward to is 49ers Jaguars. I just think that I'm intrigued to see how the 49ers look coming off their bye. I'm intrigued to see if the Jaguars are real. I think it's a good matchup for both of them. The Jaguars have looked on fire the last couple weeks. So, I mean, not the last couple weeks. They haven't lost since they lost to the Texans in September. So it's been over a month since they lost, which is crazy. So the next thing that we're going to go to is our new. Oh, I forgot. We're going to do college football first. I thought we were going to do our new segment. Right. My bad. So we're going to talk about the Michigan, Penn State preview. I actually have a big group of friends from up here that all are leaving tomorrow to go down to the game. Okay. I don't see Penn State beating Michigan. I just don't. But it would be fun if they did. I just think there's a lot going on with the Big Ten right now and the Michigan allegations and that kind of stuff. But how about you?
I think Penn State has a good chance. I don't believe that they'll win this game. I just, I'm sorry. Don't excommunicate me from my state, y'all. I am a huge Penn State guy. I grew up on Penn State football. But, the offense has been looking good. Unlike last week when we talked about them and how I have said that James Franklin and the offensive coordinator needed to let, Drew Allers cook. And they've been letting him do it those last 2 games against Indiana and Maryland. He has, as you know how they say it down there, Maryland. that is for those of you that think I'm lying. She used to live down there, and that's exactly how they say it, right? Maryland, right? Maryland. Yeah, that's exactly how they say it down there. So, they are looking good, but I think Michigan has too many guns. I'm sorry, too many horses on that.
Too many weapons. They're just everywhere. You can't stop them. Somebody gets hurt, the next man up is just as good.
Too many weapons, and I think that in Penn State, there are a lot of players on Penn State's defense. Penn State is linebacker, safety, and CB and tight end U. But, I just think that it's going to be a close game. If I got to put it somewhere, and I would love to be wrong because I love Penn State, and I would love to see James Franklin finally get a big win, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe Michigan's distracted. Maybe they won't blow them out by 20, right? Maybe they'll win. We don't know. But, I think this game, it's going to be close. It's a rivalry game, obviously in the Big Ten, and they beat up on each other. So I say, if I got to put a score on it, Michigan 24, Penn State 20.
Whoa, that's low. I was gonna say like 48. That's not a score. Like 30.
30-26. That's what you thinking?
No, higher than that. I'm trying to think what the over is because I think the over is gonna hit.
Okay.
What's the over?
Turning into a betting podcast now.
Well, what's the over? Let's see. Wow, the odds on this are crazy though. Not odds, but like the matchup predictor is 49.6% Michigan, 50.4% Penn State.
Yeah, because they think Michigan's distracted with all the signs.
Yeah. The under over is 44, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the over is going to hit. I think both combined they're going to score more than 45 points. So
then I'm right then. 24.
Yeah,
20.
you are.
That's 44.
No, that would be the under because it's 44 and a half.
Oh well. 25, 20.
There you go. All right. Are there any other games you're looking forward to in college football?
Yes. We're the unofficial Pac-12 podcast as well. Washington, Utah, man.
Yeah, that'll be a good game.
I said before that Washington needs to stay undefeated to hold their small, ever increasing but small chances of getting into the playoffs. So they got to beat Utah. I don't know why the committee has Ohio State over Georgia. I guess they rated that Penn State game because that's the best game Ohio State's played so far. But Washington, Utah, that's my most anticipated game. You go.
No surprise.
Uh-oh.
James Madison University Dukes are playing UConn. They should blow them out, knock on wood. But here's the reason why it's my most anticipated game. So for those of you that do not know, you're like, what is James Madison? JMU, I'm sure you've heard of it. We are 9-0. We just moved up from FCS last year, and we are still in this transition period. So we're not allowed to play for any championships, any bowl games.
Well, they approved y'all waiver, so you can play now.
Did they?
Yeah.
When did they approve it?
I think yesterday.
I know they sent it.
You can fact check me, but
Did I miss that?
I think they approved it yesterday. I thought I saw something like that.
No, we appealed again yesterday. I didn't see they approved it, but what did get approved was the Sun Belt said that if they approve us to play in a bowl game, they'll let us play for the championship. That did get approved.
Okay.
So if you don't know, go look up JMU. We're ranked number 21 in the country, and this is actually going to lead into our next topic that we're going to talk about really quick. JMU might be the best. You know what? I'll wait. Can I go first, actually?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to do the she ain't her. I'm just going to go to big old Michigan State basketball, ranked number 4 in the country. JMU Dukes beat you guys in overtime. And the best part about this story is that the only reason that JMU got this game is because Izzo's nephew is on the coaching staff of JMU. So that's how they got the game. Wow. Like, God, how freaking awkward is Thanksgiving going to be this year? JMU Dukes might be the greatest sports school in history. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but if you don't know them, go look it up. It's the best place in the world, James Madison University in Harrison.
You are an alum.
I am an alum.
I haven't gotten that.
Didn't just come out of nowhere.
So y'all house divided this weekend then, JMU and UConn.
No, Dan went to JMU too. So my fiance went to JMU as well. So his only allegiance to Connecticut is UConn basketball. Oh. Also had a great first game. They look great. So my she ain't her goes to Michigan State basketball because you were number 4 and the line was like 15.5 points and we beat you. And then, oh gosh, I don't know if I have anybody else right now. Oh, okay. Ron Rivera. I'm keeping him in my
Keep the hate alive.
He is. I mean, good for him, I guess, for sticking around after your 2 best players get traded and not just being like, peace, I'm done. But yeah, you're done. You know, you're done at the end of the season. So, yeah.
So I've got 3. My one I already went through earlier. He ain't him. Daniel Jones. I said this before. You're like the scuffed sneaker or the scuffed boot, the broken, the work boot, the work shoe that people got to get rid of. Daniel Jones, pack your bags, go upstairs, pack your bags. It's over, man. You are not him. You better be prepared to either be a backup or look for some new pastures. Just request a trade now, bro, because it's recover. Obviously, I don't want to kick somebody when they're down, but he ain't him, man. You are not him. It's over, bro. It's Jover. It's done. Like, if anybody that loves you, man, they're playing the old school Isley brothers, the irreplaceable. You are not Beyonce. Like, they're definitely going to replace you, dog. So, like,
yeah, he's gone.
So like, Dayball is gonna have to choose. It's either you or him, and it's not gonna be him, bro. Like,
No.
It's done. My other he ain't him. Sticking with your Commanders. Sam Howell, brother. You thought it was over because we skipped a week? Nah, bro. I'm still on your behind.
I love it.
Get them bags packed. If anybody that loves you will listen to this podcast, they probably do, or your age or somebody, pack them bags. Luke Bay is coming. Future coach Eric Bieniemy is not trying to have you. You are not his guy. You are a statue in there. This is the man that took Patrick Mahomes from an okay name to a great name. Like, you think he gonna look at you and be like, yeah, that's my guy. Nah, bro, it's over. It's showtime at the Apollo for you, Sam Howell, and the hook. I think you grew up on this too, right, Morgan? The hook is coming to pull you off the stage, bro. Like, like, it's over for you, dog. You about to be tap dancing either on the bench for them or be traded. Luke Bay, Michael Penix, Shador Sanders, somebody else is coming. And it's not you, dog.
Yeah, but Washington, they're gonna by accidentally win 4 more games and then not be able to get a quarterback this year.
Right. Oh, you never know though. They might be able to trade. I mean, look, Josh Harris has worked some miracles, and Magic Johnson wants a winning franchise too. So there's that. And then because it can't work because this is a woman. My she ain't her part of this. Kim Mulkey. What up, girl? Speaking of
what happened? That was bizarre.
Colorado. Look at that. The men pulled it off against TCU, and the women take it one step further and beat the defending champs. What's wrong, Kim? Come on, Kim.
The prime effect.
Come on, Kim. Like, I know, or in this case, to beat a woman, you got to beat the woman, but Kim, you can't transfer portal your way out of this, man. You gonna get a team's best shot. I mean, right now, I got y'all as the third team anyway, because UConn's back, Paige Breckers is back, Ozzie Fudd is back, and they've got all those freshmen, Aaliyah Edwards,
they're so good,
coming in. They dropped 102 last night, and the only real thing that has beaten UConn over the years is the fact that Paige and them, keep having knees, MCLs, ACLs. It's just been injuries. But maybe Gino has finally put them in a bubble this year or something.
Well, they said when they were interviewing him at the men's Final Four when UConn was there, that they were like, "What are you most looking forward to this season?" He was like, "To be actually being able to coach all my players all season."
Right. Yeah. So maybe he's lessened. I think most of those injuries, right, were off-season stuff where they were practicing or going too hard, I believe, or something. And most of that was off-season stuff. So anyway, Paige is back. Ozzie's there. And I haven't even mentioned my Philly sister, Dawn Staley, who I know it's revenge season for her. It's revenge season for her. Kim, to beat a woman, you gotta beat the woman, and you got two teams lining up to beat you, you. And that's not. I didn't even mention Stanford. Stanford gonna have them ready for the last year of the Pac-12 too. So before they jump over to the ACC and make my Syracuse women's team's lives a living hell. But it is. Beautiful segment.
All right, so. Is there a team? Who are you most excited to watch? I mean, I think UConn looks unbelievable. I I mean, we watched them. We were worried, there were some spots for some guys that graduated, or I don't even know if they graduated, but they got drafted. So they're in the NBA now. And they seem to have been filled by players that were either already on the team or some transfers. So I'm pumped for UConn this year. I'll be watching every game, and I can't wait.
All right, and my most exciting team coming up 5 hours away from where I am now, my Syracuse University Orange. New coach, no knock on Jim Boeheim, the legend. Big ups to him. Adrian Autry beating Canisius, however you pronounce that school's name, 90 to 77. Like, Judah Mintz is looking good. It's free, not having to share the ball with Joe Girard III, who now is transferred to Clemson.
Yeah.
Y'all look out for Syracuse Orange. They're free. They're playing 2023. Again, no knock on Jim Boeheim, but like they're playing 2023 defense now, one-on-one, like, not using the zone, which is a great defense, more built for the pros than college, but it's a great defense. And Syracuse is looking good. I don't know if they'll make the tournament this year. I'm not going to be that bold, but they're at least going to be exciting. So I hope they make the tournament, but they're at least going to be exciting. It's basketball season.
That's all that matters. Honestly, if you just want your team to be exciting and have good games. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching along, hanging out with us for the last hour and a half. I'm sorry if we offended any of your teams that you care about, but it's fine. Some of our teams are bad too. Sometimes just you hear it from an outside voice. We'll be back probably in a few weeks, and let us know if you liked what you saw, want to hear more about something. Let us know. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Thank you, man. See ya.